about 13 days before I was supposed to set foot on the Pacific Crest Trail. I was sitting in my living room, waiting for a reporter from KGW to show up and interview me. Drove up in a black Subaru with a TV camera out of his trunk. And tall, lanky fellow, looked fitter than I felt. And after a little bit of banter, he asked me, well, how do you feel? I said, well, to be honest with you, I feel terrified. And his eyes lit up, and about 2 hours later, he had a dozen stories that I had told him, and then he condensed it down into a 2-minute thing that aired on KGW about a week later. And I told him about my philosophy of hiking on the shoulders of giants. I'm not doing this alone. I'm not doing this by myself. I'm benefiting from the wisdom of hundreds, thousands of people who've done this before me. Hiking on the shoulders of giants. And so I found myself, April the 6th, on the border of Mexico, facing Canada to the north. And I reminded myself that all you have to do is take the first step, and the momentum will carry you forward. But what to do about this terror? You have to get a grip on it, don't you? You have to get a grip on these feelings of inadequacy and terror. So I'm going to make an acronym for you to follow my speech. What else is new? Giants, Giants. The first G is grip. Now, we can allow ourselves to be gripped by fear, or we can allow ourselves to be gripped by a vision of our imagination of the majesty of hiking something like the Pacific Crest Trail. The choice is yours. Which are you going to choose? G, get a grip. The letters RIP in grip don't stand for rest in peace. They stand for relentless, imaginative pursuit. And I like what Megan said she quoted Einstein. She said, knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. It can also go from Mexico to Canada, can't it? What's the second letter in Giants? I. I stands for information, internet, the knowledge that I've just mentioned. Let me tell you about a giant that I met through Facebook. She started a Facebook group called Class of 23, PCT. Her name is Jackie McDonald, and she's a double triple crowner. Oh, what's that? Double triple crown? She has hiked not just the Pacific Crest Trail, but also the Continental Divide Trail and the Appalachian Trail. And she's not done it just once, but she's done it twice. And the Pacific Crest Trail three times. Talk about a giant. She has shared the knowledge that she's gained from her hikes. She's brought in experts from various areas of specialty: nutrition, resupply, safety, security, and half a dozen other areas of concern for new hikers. And she shared that knowledge through her Facebook group. Another giant in my mind. The A in giant stands for angel, trail angels. These are another member of an invisible army of people that support every hiker who hikes the Pacific Crest Trail. There's an invisible army out there. Let me tell you a story about a trail angel that I met. I was hiking from Baden-Powell on the San Gabriel Range. It's north of the I-10, which goes from Palm Springs to LA. but it's north of there. And I was hiking eastward at this time. And I came to Wrightwood. I was going to stay overnight at Wrightwood. And the parking lot on the trailhead, Wrightwood's about 5 miles away, was empty, except for there's a blue pickup truck across the road. I went over there, waved at the guy, and he said, rolled down his window, said, which is the direction to Wrightwood? Because I was planning to go walk there if I had to. He said, hey, you need a ride? I said, oh yeah, sure, you bet. Have you got a place to stay? He said, well, no, I don't. Now you do, he said. And he and his wife have a property in Wrightwood. He's a retired mailman. His wife is a retired school teacher. They had a little ice house on their property in Wrightwood. They converted it into a cabin, and they hosted hikers, trail angels. They took me around town to the post office and just took care of me for 3 days while I was in Wrightwood. Got me resupplied. Wonderful, wonderful experience. Giants on the trail. I can tell you dozens of other stories about trail angels. N stands for nutrition. I had hiked 220 miles from Mexico to just north of the I-10. And the weather was hot. It was blisteringly hot. And I was out of energy. And I couldn't eat. And I quit. I quit the trail for a month. I took a month off. Part of the excuse was to spend some time with my family. I hiked 200 miles. Wow, that's amazing. But I consulted a sports nutritionist. And she said, if you can't eat protein, you can't eat the food. This is not uncommon. So why don't you drink it? Make a protein shake and drink it. And I got the recipe. My wife made these drinks. And when I got back on the trail a month later, I was drinking down 3 liters a day of these protein shakes, game changer. I shared the recipe with people on the trail. They loved it. And they gave my wife, she wasn't on the trail, but she was a trail angel in the kitchen. She got a trail name, Smoothie, out of it. Another giant in my heart, at least. The T stands for training. Now, did I train enough for this thing? Probably not. I was a rookie, never done this before in my life. But I did have some training partners. My dog Panda. I had somebody that I hiked with. On the passes, I tested out some of the challenging portions of the trail ahead of time. I camped overnight in a blizzard just to test out my snow equipment. Gave a speech about that earlier this year before I got on the trail. And I, in order to test my stamina, I actually took my dog to PetSmart, and I bought a bag of dog food, 35 pounds of dog food, and I put it in my backpack, and I took a circuitous route home. I'll tell you what, hiking with 35-pound sack of dog food on your back is not walking. That's the difference between hiking and walking, the weight on your back. S stands for shoulders, the shoulders of giants. Scenery, the scenery was magnificent. The shoulders are actually the shoulders of the hills. You don't go up and over the top, except in a few instances. Mostly it goes around the hills on the shoulders. And that's another definition of the shoulders of giants. So on August the 11th, I found myself camped overnight, 10 miles away from Bridge of the Gods, Cascade Locks, on the border of Oregon and Washington, Columbia River. Got up in the morning, put on some wet, sweaty clothes, and I was texting John Goodwin, the KGW reporter, letting him know where I was. And we got to Bridge of the Gods. He interviewed me for 2 hours, crossing over the Bridge of the Gods, condensed it down to 2 minutes. He asked me to look in the camera and give a message to the viewers. I said, if anybody tells you that you're too young, or you're too old, or you're the wrong gender or ethnicity, tell them to take a hike. It aired about a week later, and the anchor, when he heard that, he repeated the phrase, tell them to take a hike. Mr. Toastmaster.